The first time I saw the house, it wasn't in color. I was looking through God's eyes, and everything was muted, washed in soft grays and hushed blues like the whole scene had been filtered through grief. The home itself was nice, clean, sturdy, nothing obviously wrong, but it was sterile, quiet in a way that didn't feel peaceful, more like something sacred had already slipped out the back door. There were no people, no voices, just an old radio playing static in the living room, like somebody had walked out mid-song and left the record spinning, a ghost of a melody scratching against the silence. In the kitchen, the cabinets were closed, the sink was dry, but on the bar, right there under the dim, flickering light, lay 2 wedding bands, and beside 'em, a note and a key. No long letter, no explanation, just the kind of quiet goodbye that don't need words, the kind that settles in your chest and makes a home there. It wasn't a dramatic scene, no slammed doors, no broken dishes, just absence, like the echo of what used to be. The whole house felt like it had exhaled for the last time, like love had just packed up and left the lights on out of courtesy alone. This was a home that had faced the music and lost the dance, a divorce, a family shattered. And Jesus, he was there too, not standing in judgment, but sifting gently through the rubble, mourning what was lost, yes, but already seeing what could be rebuilt, already drawing up blueprints in the dust. I didn't know it at the time, but that house was mine. That was the life I'd just come out of, the life that was over for good. And I believe God let me see it that way, gray and empty, not to haunt me, but to mark the turning point, because the next time I saw that house, it wasn't gray anymore. The dream shifts and I'm barefoot on a muddy mountain trail, being led by a friend. My blue nightgown is soaked at the hem, my body exhausted. She insists food is this way, but doubt gnaws at me. My Jeep is far behind, the sky is darkening. Still, she keeps promising it's just a little bit further. Then, she just up and vanishes, and ain't that a fine how do you do? I'm alone, crawling, hands and knees, sinking into thick mud. Every inch is terrible work. Pearls start to spill out of the pockets of my nightgown. I'm trying to keep what I have left, but as soon as it falls, it's gone. 1, then dozens, then hundreds, disappearing right into the mud. Soon my pockets are full of nothing but lint. My sarcasm is thick, and I say it to no one but myself. Well, lucky me, I have nothing. That's when I hear God, clear as thunder in my chest, say, "This is a test." Then, with one last heave, I'm at the top of that mountain, clouds circling me. At the top stands a famous man, a man I faintly recognize. I ask him why he's there. In response, he asks me if I'm dead. Rude, but I laugh and proclaim to be very much alive despite appearances. Me in my nightgown covered in mud, I suppose I did look like a dumped corpse of a woman. He asks, "How are you here then?" Wish I knew the answer to that one, partner. Is that yours? I point to the cabin behind him. He says it is. He studies me then, looking a frightful mess. I can see his thoughts circling. No food, no water, no clothing, no people. Why am I there? It's like he's wondering if he's considering inviting a vampire into his home. Will I change once inside and take him for all he's worth? Am I just there to suck him dry? I ask him, "Are you famous by any chance?" "You look like a faded carbon copy of a man I've been dreaming about." He laughs, all cocky like, "Don't you own a TV?" I roll my eyes, unimpressed. Sure, but my dream world's a whole lot better than anything they're putting on screens these days. Hollywood's just folks patting each other on the back for remaking what's already been done, regurgitating each other's vomit and calling it a masterpiece. I squint at him a little harder now, and they float so happily in the sea of superficiality when they could be using all that attention to make a real change in the world. If you've got that kind of spotlight, for heaven's sake, aim it at something that matters. I pause, then add, I'm of the mindset you ought to never write a story you don't want to come true. Science fiction feeds reality. It plants the seed and someone, somewhere, someday goes out and makes it real. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. I nod toward him. So anyway, reckon that means you're kind of well known, huh? The dream shifts again. We're sitting inside his cabin at a bar top, just the two of us, me freshly scrubbed from my mountain mud adventure, fed, clothed, and warm. And him, well, he's still studying me like I might either rob the place or burn it down. He leans his elbows on the counter, smirking a little like he ain't quite sure what to make of me. "So what's your story? How'd you end up here?" he asked. "Oh, a big famous fella like you ain't got time for that story. You surely have more important people to listen to." His reply is simple. Still, I'd like to know more about the woman sitting in my house right now. I oblige him because, truth be told, he did just save my life, and the least I could do was sit a spell and tell a few tales when my feet warmed up. We got to talking, not in a hurry, just letting stories spill out like sweet tea on a front porch. He asked about the pearls in my nightgown. I told him they were mine, but I'd lost 'em all trying to climb my way out of something I thought would kill me. Why are you barefoot? He asks. Well, Jesus don't always give you time to grab your shoes when he says go, I shrug. Sometimes God just says move. No map, no comfort, just go. Like Abraham leaving home with nothing but trust in his bones. I reckon that's what I'm doing too. So I started opening up, full redneck and all. No filters, no edits, just me. I lean over the counter smirking. Did you know God himself calls me his backwoods woman? He raises an eyebrow. He does? Mm-hmm. And he says it with delight, not disdain. He loves my Tennessee drawl, my plain way of saying things. He delights in the grit and the stubborn roots that he planted in me. The world might think sophistication's the goal, but God? Nah, he always meets me in my dirt-stained overalls and boots. He didn't hand me lace and pageantry. He gave me back roads, bonfires, and creek water. People might think God's out here choosing the polished and the proper, but truth is, he don't see the way we see. Man looks on the outside, but the Lord, he looks at the heart. He shakes his head. You're not at all what I expected. Well, let me give you more then, I grin. I was born into a single-wide, hand-me-down trailer. My mama swore she had enough of it the night she woke Daddy in a panic. They'd heard this thump-thump, thump-thump, thump-thump out in the hallway. My daddy leapt up out of bed, baseball bat in hand, ready to fight off an intruder. He flung open that bedroom door, and there it was. A rat pushing a potato down the hallway like it was training for the Olympics. He bursts out laughing. There's no way that's true. I raise an eyebrow, dead serious. Now why would I make it up? To impress you? He half shrugs, half grinning like, all right, fair enough, carry on. So I do. My mama said, that's it, no more. So we moved into a 2-story house in a neighborhood where I spent the next 15 years growing up. But make no mistake about it, the rats followed us there too, traded potatoes in the hallway for much bigger adventures. We had a possum in the attic for months that Daddy just couldn't catch. You're telling me you slept with a possum above your head? He asked. Every night. I'd lie in bed listening to it scratch and thump, just waiting for the ceiling to give way so it could land straight in my bed with me. I yanked the covers over my head and whispered, Lord, if that possum falls through, please let it land on one of my brothers instead. Well, Daddy? He'd stalk around the house setting traps and muttering words I wasn't supposed to repeat. But that possum? He always outsmarted him. Like we had an unwanted roommate we just couldn't evict. He leans his elbows on the bar, eyes wide, hanging on every word. That possum even started eating our groceries, I add, dug itself a hole right into the top kitchen cabinets, just help itself like it paid rent or something. Now, did that stop us from using those cabinets? Nope. You just opened them up real slow, hoping he wasn't sitting there munching the cookies you were after, just staring at you in the face like, what, can I help you? He throws his head back, belly laughing. You're lying. I wish I was, I say deadpan, but that possum lived better than most people I know. I shrug. Honestly, I could write a whole novel on the animals that paraded through our lives. Rats, snakes, possums, skunks, you name it, Daddy chased it down. Half chaos, half comedy. That was just life. And then I smirk a little because a memory hits me out of nowhere. You know, it's kind of like that time I was 3 years old, sitting at the kitchen table with my brother Bruce. He was pouring us bowls of Raisin Bran. We didn't have much, but we did have cereal. And I was so little I could barely see over the table at all. I leaned over the box, peeking in, and I saw what looked like the biggest, juiciest raisin God had ever made. I said, I want that big old raisin. It's mine. Don't you dare take it. Well, wouldn't you know, Bruce pours that first bowl, and out comes a big old cockroach landing right on top like it owned the place. And you know what that little rascal did? Tried to feed it to me. Held the spoon out and said, What? You said you wanted it? I grin and shake my head. Lesson learned. Be careful what you claim, 'cause you just might get it, and sometimes it ain't a raisin, it's a roach. He's still chuckling as I lean back. So now you'll understand why I keep a knife on me and pepper spray on my keychain. He leans towards me, eyes wide. Tell me more. I smirk. All right. I'll tell you more about the feral kid I was before the world tried to break me. I watch him adjust his arms on the table like he's settling in for the next chapter. I was a tomboy through and through. 3 older brothers made sure of that. Being the youngest and the only girl meant 2 things. 1, if I ever tried to be girly, they mocked me with chants of, "Lacey's just a little bitty baby," until I wanted to claw my own ears off. And 2, if anybody else dared mess with me, they'd have hell to pay. That's the paradox of brothers, I continue. Torment at home and protection everywhere else. He nods, smiling. I can tell he gets it. Kindergarten was my trial by fire. A 4th grader, for reasons I'll never understand, decided that he liked me. And every day at lunch, he'd sit next to me, open my milk cartons, carry my tray, and buy me ice cream. "That's adorable," he teases. Well, I hated it, I deadpan. Every day I begged my brothers to let me sit at their table. My oldest brother, Charles, an 8th grader at the time, gave me lunchroom sanctuary once before telling his fuzzy-haired 5-year-old sister to figure it out on her own, because he couldn't have me cramping his style. So the next day, I convinced that 4th grader to sit across from me because he always insisted on sitting right beside me. He reached across the table to open yet another milk carton, and I snapped. I saw red. I thought, I can't live like this anymore. So I kicked him. "Where?" he asked, eyes big. "Square in the nuts," I said without flinching. His hand flies up to his mouth, trying to hide the smile, but he's rubbing his chin and grinning ear to ear like I just told him his favorite joke. You know what happened after that? That cafeteria went dead silent. He blinked, real slow, and said through a pained breath, "That didn't hurt." I panicked, because, well, physical violence was the only tool in my belt at the time. Using my words never even crossed my mind. Expressing my feelings? Pfft, please. I was raised in a house where you either swung or you walked it off. He snorts, trying not to full-on laugh again. I mean, what do you even do after that? I say, throwing up my hands. Milk carton's still sitting there, ice cream's melting, and I'm staring at a boy holding his manhood together with pride alone. Felt like he was breaking some ancient law, like there was a secret rule carved in stone somewhere that said, "Thou shalt not stick around after being kicked in the nuts." But there we remained, in awkward silence. So after lunch came nap time, and let me tell you, after all that, I was plumb exhausted. The stress had wrung me out like a dish rag. All I wanted was to lay down on that vinyl mat, close my eyes, and pretend none of it ever happened. Just as I was laying out my little red mat, thinking I'd finally found peace, when BAM! The classroom door flings open like the angel of vengeance just kicked it down. In walks that boy. Red-faced, blotchy, clutching an ice pack to his groin like it was the Holy Grail, flanked on both sides by the principal and assistant principal, marching like he was bringing evidence before the town of Salem. That boy pointed straight at me, finger trembling, voice cracking, and hollered, "That's her!" I looked around the room like, "Who? Me?" My brothers had taught me well. Oh yes, witch trial, and I was the witch. Next thing I know, I'm sitting in the principal's office alone, trying not to cry because my brothers didn't raise no sissy. But the tears came anyway, because back then they still paddled kids without blinking. So I was sitting there imagining the principal doing practice swings in the next room. "So I guess you got punished then?" he questions earnestly. "Well, you'd think that, but Bobby," I say, my tone shifting a little softer, "my meanest brother, the one who tormented me daily, he stormed into that office like a one-man army. His blonde mullet waving like a battle flag. He stood between me and those administrators like a wall. He wasn't no 7th grader then. He was a soldier ready for battle. He said they weren't laying a hand on me, told him to call our mama, said he'd take the paddling himself if he had to." He stares at me, quiet now, and did it work? "It did," I nod. "Same brother who teased me with little bitty baby saved me without hesitation." "Wow," he whispers. "Yep. Bobby trained me by torment, wrestled me into headlocks, smacked my cheeks while teasing, but I realized later he was just teaching me to not stay pinned down. He was teaching me to fight back. That's what real love does, ain't it? Outdoes one another in show and honor. It covers even when it's loud and messy, and comes wearing cut-off shorts and a mullet. I don't remember what my punishment was, but what I do know is that my parents should have put me in therapy immediately. Because what kind of little girl hates getting help so much that she physically lashes out? He full belly laughs then. And you know what? I may have drank tiny bits of cardboard out of those milk cartons from that point on because I still had no idea how to open them right, but I did it in peace. And with a quiet sense of satisfaction because I never saw that boy again. Still, I have no idea who he was. I glanced back across the counter. He's smiling wide-eyed like he discovered a rare species and can't decide whether to admire it or run for cover. Eventually, after the laughter had died down and the room got quiet again, I gave a little sigh and said, "Well, I gotta get going." His brow furrowed. "You're really going back out there? To where?" I gave a half smile and shrugged. "Don't really know. God just said keep moving, so that's what I'm doing. I ain't got a map, but I've got my orders." He looked at me like I just said I was fixing to cross the Atlantic in a pair of flip-flops. "You're leaving this? The cabin, food, warmth, safety?" I nodded. "Sure am." I stood up, pulling on the jacket he'd given me, and headed for the door. Still no shoes, still no pearls, still nothing in my pockets but lint and faith. But I had breath in my lungs, and that was enough. The air outside hit me like a truth I didn't quite know how to carry, cold, muddy, and uncertain, but holy somehow. I stepped off the porch and started back up that trail, feet sinking into the mud again, jacket flapping behind me like a cape I didn't ask for but was mighty grateful to have. And him? He just stood there in the doorway of that perfect little cabin, arms crossed, confused as all get out, watching me walk away like I was a mystery he'd never quite solve. Like he couldn't for the life of him figure out why a woman would leave a perfectly good cabin and climb a muddy mountain toward a place she couldn't name. But I didn't turn back. I kept going. Because when God says move, you move, even if you don't know where the path leads, even if you're barefoot in a borrowed jacket, leaving behind something good for something holy. That man had covered me like feathers from the Most High, like refuge wrapped in borrowed flannel. I've left behind a lot, even good things, but it's all worthless compared to what I'm chasing, something holy and something more.